Hello people, Sam will be doing a review for the new HBO Max / Warner Brothers movie, The Little Things. This was released about 2 weeks ago when I watched it last night, and my expectations were, I didn't have any. I know Jared Leto was nominated for a lot of, only for Golden Globe and Screen Actors Guild, and I was kind of thrown off by that. I heard absolutely nothing about this movie, and just to see Jared Leto randomly get nominated, I was like, I guess I'll check it out. I still need to see some 2021 movies. And yeah, I don't know where to start with the things I liked or the things I didn't like, but I'll just start with what I did like. I thought the cast was good. The has a lot of star power. Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, and Jared Leto. They're all at least fine in the movie. Like Denzel Washington, he's fine in the movie. Like he's not terrible. Like Rami Malek, he's okay. There's a couple scenes where I thought the lighting was really, really, really good, because a lot of this movie takes place at night, and so I thought the lighting was really well done, especially the way they used the colors and stuff like that. It all just really worked with the lighting standpoint. And I thought the opening minute or two were actually very intense, and I was extremely impressed. And I was like, wow, I am in for a treat, because the opening minute or so was really, really, really intense. And yeah, yes. The biggest question for most people who review this is Jared Leto's performance really something you're supposed to go, he should be nominated for stuff? And I don't think so. Yes, he's good in the movie. He is probably the standout in the movie. But I'm not. I'm just thinking about his performance, and I'm like, Golden Globe and Screen Actors Guild nominated performance. It just doesn't feel like that to me. And part of that has to do with the writing. So now let's get into what I didn't like. The characters themselves, like I said, the actors did a good job acting, but the characters themselves are just very by the books. So since, Jared Leto is supposed to be like the so-called antagonist of the movie, and so we don't really have any reason for us to, care about him because he's the antagonist. But of course there's the main characters, Rami Malek and John David Washington, and the thing we're supposed to emphasize with them is, I was trying to think about it, they both have kids. Or either have or used to have a family. That's the only attempt that they have at characterization. This movie is very forgettable and cliche. It was just so by the numbers that you've seen a million times, with a twist I saw coming from the opening, 15 to 20 minutes. I'm not going to remember this in a week or so. I'm just going to, as soon as I upload this video, my brain's going to kind of wipe itself of this movie, because it didn't latch on to me. I wasn't invested at all. The characters were extremely cliche. There's nothing special about it. And there's this one thing I have to mention. There's one scene, I don't know exactly when it is in the movie, but where I laughed so hard. And it's a huge mistake in the editing room. It's where not John David Washington. I've been watching a lot of John David Washington lately. So when I see Denzel Washington, I throw myself off. But Denzel Washington, there's a scene where he's driving, and most scenes, they're obviously not really driving. It's obviously green screen. But he's driving. This is what happens. He's driving, the car turns, and his hands are staying still. It killed me. He's driving, the car turns, and then he does this. I'm like, what? How did that get approved and put in a final cut of a movie? I think there was another instance where something like that happened, and it was really funny. Oh, there was this one edit where it's an interrogation scene, and I don't know if it was improvisation by Denzel Washington's end, but it was just so like, what just happened? Because all of a sudden, Denzel Washington, he gets up and starts yelling at Jared Leto, and he's screaming, and all of a sudden the musical score rises, and you can tell Denzel Washington's screaming loud. You can't make out what he's saying. And then all of a sudden it gets really shaky cam and up close, and almost like it's a found footage film. And this is all within 2 or 3 seconds. And I'm like, what just happened? there's two incidences throughout the movie where I don't know why it was just so strange, and where it was like almost like a hiccup in editing, where I don't know, it cracked me up. I don't know how it was passed and approved and screened and still managed to for me to see that. I don't know. Every single twist in this movie, like I said, I saw it coming. I didn't get it perfectly, but it was like, oh, you didn't because of course the title's called The Little Things, and so that's implying, you have to pay attention to the little things in this movie. And so, but once you have a movie titled The Little Things, and it makes the little things in the movie so blatantly obvious, it's almost hysterical, because they point out something and they make it so, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm sure that's not coming back at all. And like almost every single line of dialogue, I'm like, yeah, I'm sure that's part of that. And I wasn't 100% right, but I got like the general idea of most of the twist or even plot points before we even got there into with the movie. But the big twist at the end is I definitely saw coming. But even just going from plot point to plot point in the movie, I was like, yep, yeah, I've seen this before. The worst part about this movie is the first hour. The first hour was such a drag. It was like watching paint dry. The second half gets a little bit more original, but the second half isn't even really original. It's just a little bit more than the first half. The first half of the movie is just, like I said, it's like watching paint dry. I've seen it a million times. I know what's gonna happen. This isn't original. It's not intriguing. I feel like I'm watching a CBS miniseries that wanted to be more than a miniseries, but just was canceled. It just felt like that, and it was the first hour of this movie. I'm just saying, if the first hour of this movie was like, if the second hour of the movie was like what the first hour was like, I'd probably give this movie like a 1 out of 10. Like seriously. And I'm not saying even the second half saved the movie at all. Also, speaking of runtime, you could probably take about 20 or 30 minutes away from this movie, because it's just like there's some plot points mentioned and and they don't even come back, and you're like, what? So why was that there? And my biggest problem is actually the ending itself, where the movie just doesn't come together at all. It's made to make you think it does, but when you think about it, it all just crumbles apart. It doesn't even answer the big question of the movie. And I'm assuming that you've either seen this already, if you've been to the review, but I'm just going to say it. It doesn't even answer who did the crimes. It doesn't even answer that. It just kind of went on its own little thing. And then when you see the opening scene of the movie, you're like, and then versus the ending, you're like, okay. And it just doesn't answer anything by the end. I felt extremely unsatisfied and shortchanged. And sorry about my cat meowing. So I'm going to give this, she's really hungry. So I'm going to go give the score, give my score real quick. And I'm going to give it a 3.7 out of 10. Sorry about my cat. So yeah, anyways, that's my review for The Little Things. So like, share, subscribe, and stuff like that. And adios.